Let the madness begin. And so it begins. Hey, you remember this. Street lamps. So I talked about architecture and lighting. I would do the video on that. And as promised, I deliver. Unlike most carriers nowadays, being the holidays, they just don't deliver. But here at the UAP channel, I will deliver for you, Lord willing. Okay, and the Lord is willing. And there is no doubt of whom I speak when I say the Lord. It's not the Lord of this world, it's the Lord over this world. Okay? So, I was looking at this picture and I just thought about the size of the building and everything, because that's a man down there. Look at that dude. It's like teeny tiny. And the building's so big, and then they have this place in front of it, and what is it? It just makes me think of like a little clubhouse. And I said that before, but I just picture the person in there. It's just like some like older, like diminutive fellow saying that he's the curator of that building. And if you ask him questions about it, he'll have all these facts, but they don't add up. And the people are walking around looking at that building, and they just don't know what to do with it, and they just walk away, the teacher with the class or whatever it is. Oh, we had a field trip and we saw the building, and oh, isn't it a quaint story how it was built and all these things went wrong, and it's just kind of a curiosity. But anyway, you look at some of those buildings, they didn't have uses for them. But they had to light them up. They had to heat them. That takes energy. You don't build things like that without some communication. And so there were utility poles. There were utility poles for a long time. And there are insulators on them, and they're all over the place in these older photos. So we assume that they were carrying the telegraph lines, because so many people commuted by telegraph. But, does your family have slips of paper or things like that from all these telegraphs that were sent back and forth? Mine doesn't. Does your family have anything from before 1850? I don't know that mine does. I mean, there's some history, there's some stuff like that, but as far as artifacts, I'm thinking, and I don't think that we have. I'm not thinking of any. There are stories, there are things like that, but actual artifacts, I don't know. I suppose I could find a gravestone of somebody from the family who would have been born before 1850. What does that say? I don't know. And I don't even know that I could actually locate one. At least theoretically, yeah. In Europe, I probably could. Or, well, no. There should be some, but I just haven't seen that. If I do that or see that, I will share it with you. Anyway, you see these two obelisks there? Yeah, so what are they doing there? We're going to talk about the obelisks. And, yeah. What do you put on bridges? Lights. Yep, there are lights there. There are statues there. When your local municipality builds a bridge, do they put ornate, carved, like, whatever, statues on the bridge? Probably not. Probably not. The only time I see any kind of artwork like that going up these days, it is nothing like this stuff. It's like a dinosaur. Or it's like, like some kind of modern art. You wouldn't even be able to tell what in the heck it is. You have to ask. And then, it's, if you want to ask, you can ask. But it's just like the scene in Harold and Kumar, Escape from Guantanamo Bay. That movie, there's the guy who's the FBI guy hunting them down, and he is told by the two Jewish guys that he's questioning that they are pleading the Fifth, meaning pleading the Fifth Amendment, which is from the Bill of Rights, which means you have the right to remain silent. You don't need to say anything when you are being interrogated, because you can speak to a lawyer first, or just simply choose not to say anything, and they can't punish you or force you to say something if they want you to, because that's how you could possibly incriminate yourself. Anyway, meaning incriminate yourself when you are not guilty, right? So he takes the Fifth Amendment, rips it out of the book, and then wipes his ass with it, and then he shows it to him, and there's a big brown skid mark on it, and the guys go, "Oh man, why is your ass so dirty?" And then he said, his reply is, "Son, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to." It's kind of like, why is there this COPPA regulation cracking down on YouTubers potentially for something that isn't going to help kids anyway? Son, don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. Well, when I see artwork go up, or statues, or I guess you could call it sculptures, I don't know, they're just usually like iron shapes, like parallelograms and triangles that vaguely resemble maybe a human being or a monster or a lizard or a dinosaur or whatever. Those things go up, and if I ask what that's supposed to be, it's kind of that thing, you know, they answer, and then I'm thinking, I wish I wouldn't have asked. Kind of that. But, you know, you go into the past and you have artwork that is beautiful and possibly, in a lot of cases, uplifting. And to me, like a question of what is art and what should art be, I have a nuanced understanding of art. There's no doubt about it. And I appreciate some forms of impressionism and expressionism. Okay. I have been aware of the art from like the Weimar Republic and the Dada art and the works of Salvador Dali and so on. And there is a place for it, and I do appreciate that. But on the larger scale, on a macro scale for the most part, I think art should be something that depicts nature. It doesn't need to match reality, but it needs to interpret reality or depict it in such a way that brings more to the table. In other words, it needs to improve upon the subject which it is depicting or focusing on which it focuses, so that what you could see for yourself as a bowl of fruit, it brings it to you. Perhaps it brings to you a scene that you have not observed in life and probably could not observe in life. That is a great work of art. If it does it extremely well so that you almost feel like you're there, that's really great. There's no doubt about it, and that takes skill. Photography does a great job of that. They didn't necessarily have that back then, but they were able to paint things and sculpt things and make them almost every bit as good. But then there is that's more of like what I just described, that was more like the sciencey side of art. Then there is art that I consider true art, godly art. The art of which art should be following all art. And that is the kind that depicts something in a way that is superior to the natural form. In other words, if you're there, let's say you are there and you see a scene, like you look at a bowl of fruit on a table. Yep, there's a bowl of fruit on the table, and I've seen that shit before. I've seen this. What? You know, you're not, maybe you're in a brooding mood and you're more reflective, and it's Thanksgiving time and you're thankful for the fruit, and it warms your heart to see it and you're happy, whatever. But a really good painting would bring out features and things that are there that you maybe didn't notice before. It highlights maybe the colors, maybe the contrasts. So you get the point of what I'm saying, like maybe it alters the reality, so it shows, the essence of a person, not in a caricature way, not kind of like making fun of them or exaggerating them in a comic way, but depicting somebody in a way that puts them in their best light, like with some of these portraits, or communicates the complex nature of the person's personality through the painting, just in the facial expressions and the choices of the background and different things like that. So you see all kinds of that from the old world art, and it seems like we just keep getting further and further away from it. But on that subject, I'm going to show you the thing I talked to you about before, and that is the veiled woman. That's the statue that I saw when I was at the Louvre in Paris, France. Ah, Paris. La France. Yes, that one, and that just blew my mind. So let's have a look at that. All right, so this is the one I was talking about. I found this really neat thing. So you can see, I was raving about this in other videos. If you remember, if you haven't, you missed some good videos. But it just blew my mind. Now this is a 3D rendering. I'm not sure that it does it justice, but you can really get a sense of the proportions of things. I'll see if I can zoom in. I guess I can't really zoom in except on her midsection or something, but to think that somebody carved this out of solid marble, yeah, and nothing that I say can do it justice. And then this 3D rendering, I don't think it does it justice at all, because the shadings and things, they're not even really visible. So let's go back and look at a picture of it, okay? They don't even really have really great pictures of it. Some of these uploads are kind of lower quality. That's not even the right one. That's not it. This is it, but this is such crap quality, this picture. It's when I walked by it, I mean, it stopped me in my tracks. And let's go for lower resolution, I guess. That's the same crap one. Let's see if this is a better quality picture. And I don't know why. For the life of me, I just can't seem to find a high quality picture. I'm sure I took one, but I don't feel like going through my old computers for like ages. I mean, there are other things that are kind of similar quality out there. But yeah, just incredible. How do you do that? How? It's just beautiful. I mean, that's art. That stuff is art. And so they have these things, I'm finding they're on gravestones a lot. Probably like in your local city cemetery somewhere, that I don't know, the fluoride or the whatever blocks your mind from going there and appreciating the art, and it just didn't get desecrated like everything else because it was a grave. And for all the things that you might say about superstition and whatnot, superstition maybe kept some of these people from desecrating works of art. All right, so let's just play a little game here. Hey you, come on down. It's time to play the 19th century gang. The 19th century gang. Hey, we like to build buildings that are big as hell because we're the 19th century gang. Yeah. Welcome to the 19th century gang game. Do you have your ladders? Do you have your wheelbarrows? Good. Because you can stop darning your socks and start building the buildings. Now maybe this was built before then, but it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Okay, your name is Jones. Mr. or Ms. Jones, I would like you to build a church. Take me to church. You're going to build a church for the people of the town. And when you design it, just bring it and just tell us about it. So they design it and bring it. How many stories is it? Well, let's have a look. I see maybe 2, 3, and then if you count the tower, it's maybe 4 or 5 stories. It's got to have all these little sticky outy doohickey things on the top. Well, what's the purpose of them? Well, it keeps birds from landing on it. Maybe. Is it going to produce light? Haha. I'll pass on that question. All right. How many of them do you need? Well, we need at least 3. But then on the side, we can have these sticky uppy things coming out. We need all these little, I don't know what they're called, little pole things going up and down, triangles and knobbies. Lots of knobbies. And we're going to have these crisscrossy things going up and down, like, you know, like sand art, you know, when you do like something. Like a scratchy zigzag pattern. And then we'll have a band going across that, and then have the zigzaggy pattern beneath. And oh man, you know, we're going to have bell towers and balconies, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And well, how are you going to light the inside? Oh, well, it'd be nice if it were different, but I guess we're just going to have like candles and torches. Yeah, and it's going to be a big fire hazard too. Okay, well, I guess if it has to be that way. Well, what about those ruins in the area? What are we going to do with those ruins? Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to climb up on top, underneath the swirlies, where those knobby stick-up things are on the tippy tops. And we're going to find those archways that some say were windows. Whatever, we're going to take bricks. We're going to carry the bricks up to that height. And we're going to brick in those windows. And they're arched at the top, and we're going to have to like chip away at the bricks and put them in and have the mortar and everything. And we're going to brick them up. Brick up those windows and leave the rest there. And yeah, oops. And then, you know, for where the the roof is kind of breaking down, then we just patch it up there, you know. That's the plan. Okay. And it's going to be very, very tall. The archways, even at the bottom, we're going to have these tall archways so that nobody hits their heads going in and out there. I mean, it will never be a problem. You can feed your kids all kinds of nutrition and vitamins and everything. They could grow up really tall. They won't hit their heads. No, sir. Won't happen. Nope. So, and we're going to make these things out in the country, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we'll call them colonnades and promenades. And there's no purpose to them. They're just going to be out there. That's what that will be. And the entryways will be elevated off the ground so that in the winter, the ice and snow will make it an adventure to get in and out of the buildings. And the roadways will be so wide that the horse carts, they'll have plenty of room. Plenty of room. Maybe 16, 18, 25 times the amount of room. And we're going to install electric streetcars before electricity and have them be pulled by horse carts. We'll have the utility poles up, and we're going to have antennas up, even though we can only communicate via telegraph. But nobody does. Not much. So how are we going to light it? Well, candles and torches. Yeah. All right. So congratulations. You've won, by the way. I really like how you were going to light it up with candles and torches. That sounds like a good plan. It's because there's no other way you could light the interior of a building, even during daylight. It's not like you can build a huge building out of just glass back then, for sure. Well, actually, we did that as well. Yeah. Glass and steel built it for a World's Fair. And, you know, we were going to tear it down right away because that's always the plan. Sad thing is that we didn't do it soon enough, and it burnt down. Yeah, it burnt down. Just like the others that didn't get torn down quick enough. Because that's what happens to huge buildings made from glass and steel or iron. But yeah. We're going to have clocks all over, you know, just like this. Yeah. There's a clock there and a clock there. And so if you blur your eyes, do the magic eye, the two clocks come together and make one clock that's also, you know, 2 dimensions basically at that distance. It doesn't do anything special. If one clock breaks down, then you go by the other clock. But how do you know which is which? Aha, therein lies the reason they should have built it with 3 clocks. Lesson learned. That's why they tear it down. Tear that shit down. Ciao, ciao. And we have fences for parts of the city that are off limits. Indeed. But you've seen this stuff before, so I'm just going to skip through that. All right? I'm sorry for the fast scrolling. But I want to talk about this stuff. All right, so the electric light architecture. Let's get started on that. Now we know they didn't build these out of proportionally sized buildings. With respect to these buildings that are completely out of proportion, I don't know why it hasn't been a major question of how they lit these buildings. And it's just striking to me how much larger they are. You just would think that going into the past, that things would become, as you go back, more diminutive and more Spartan, more basic, right? Not more elaborate and more gargantuan. Well, I find it comical how they try to compensate for that by putting in the fake history of prehistory where it goes into the extreme and people are living in caves. I mean, what about these buildings strikes you as suggesting that as you go further back, they became so basic that and so small-minded and so short-sighted that they merely lived in natural formations? I'm more apt to believe that going back in time and going back in history, that we would have gravitated towards something so fantastic and long-lasting and beautiful and ornate that perhaps the formation of the earth included architecture as designed by the perfect designer, God the Creator. And it's worth a quick mention that all great designers, all great inventors use the design of God through natural systems and biology, even though it is flawed. Our biology is flawed. The machine work of biology is so perfect in its true form that you can derive countless inventions from mere analogs, mere mimicry of God's design. And let me use an example that I've known for a while and the human race, which includes me, hasn't caught up on, and that is for aerodynamics. If you want to improve the coefficient of friction on vehicular travel craft, i.e. vehicles, having a smooth metal skin is not a good idea compared to having a rough textured skin. Now, not totally rough, but let's think about fast things. Swordfish are fast. Pelicans, when they're diving, they're fast. What are any of those things perfectly smooth? Heck no. And golf balls are dimpled for this reason. So if some Scottish hobbyists figured it out a long time ago with that, what was that ball with the stitches on it? It slips my mind now, but I used to know that because I was really into golf. But it was like a leather ball, a leather bag, and they would have it wet, and then they would stuff it full of feathers, and then they stitched the wet leather together, and then when it dried, it shrunk down, and it was pressurized. But they found that the stitches helped the ball, because when they improved the process of golf balls and they got rid of the stitches, the balls became wild and unpredictable, and they didn't travel as far, and they, just through trial and error, found that the stitches could be substituted with dimples, and that's how you have dimples on the golf ball. But why don't we have those dimples on automobiles? Aircraft, that's a different story, I think. But feathers, why don't wings of aircraft have some kind of analog to feathers? Has anybody tried it? You know, I'm just talking about the texture. On a Mythbusters show, they did try the golf ball thing one time. And it improved the fuel efficiency, I believe. Although I've lost all respect and trust for the Mythbusters show, if it's even still running. Those guys are sellouts. They obviously did about the shape of the earth. But anyway, Yeah, that was proven. I'm not just stating my opinion. That's a proven fact. So, okay, we're talking about the lights. Now, we see these lampposts in these photos all the time, along with these giant fountains. And the term gaslighting, it may be far more apropos than anybody's willing to recognize. The term gaslighting is supposed to come from some movie from, I think, the 1930s, which I still haven't seen, but I would like to, referencing just to define gaslighting, it's just the restatement of a lie in a more bold manner to leave the person suspecting you of lying with nowhere to go. So if you watch the movie Patriot Games with Harrison Ford playing the CIA analyst, and he's talking to the president, or he's in the room with the president, and they're talking about how the president's friend is being investigated for running drugs, which he was, and they're like, oh man, and he turns up dead, and he's a drug runner, he's a friend of the president's, and so it has people questioning, is the president all on the up and up, or does he have these like nefarious friends, or what's going on here? And they're like, well, if the press asks you if you're friends, you should deny it or whatever. And then it's like, well, that's not really what. And then Harrison Ford speaks up, kind of out of turn. He's not supposed to talk around the president because it just gets you in trouble because he's an evil bastard or whatever. Anyway, Harrison Ford says, no, I wouldn't deny that you're friends. I would say that you're good friends, that you're lifelong friends. And that leaves them nowhere to go. Now, to be fair, Jack Ryan, the character Harrison Ford was playing, was not thinking that it was gaslighting. He wasn't thinking that there was any reason that the president would have known about these nefarious activities of his so-called friend, well, his real friend, I guess, in the movie. Well, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, it's still gaslighting when the president did it, when he's approached by the press and they say, were you friends, da, 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 and then the president said, friends? No, we weren't friends. We were good friends, lifelong friends. You know, and then that doesn't leave them anywhere to go. What are we going to do? So, you know, that was gaslighting, which Harrison Ford realized later. Anyway, or Jack Ryan. But is that all a cover? Is that movie? I think the movie might even be called Gaslighting. Is that a cover for a very real term that was used in a literal sense? That when they had electricity, I mean, the survivors of the reset, or I have a better name for it, which I'll unveil in a moment. But the people who survived it and didn't agree with it, they, I believe, knew about and remembered, or their parents or grandparents, whatever fleeting time they had with them, they were told about the way buildings lit up, the way public areas in every town or village or square, every city, every hamlet had outdoor lighting, indoor lighting and outdoor lighting. It was electrical. It wasn't chemical. It wasn't a candle or a gas light. See, they knew. They knew. And so the people who took that technology away and denied it introduced the gas light probably right away because it just wasn't feasible. They didn't use torches and they didn't use candles for everything. They didn't use oil lamps at that time. You know, centuries before, perhaps they used oil lamps. Well, we still use oil lamps today. We always will. I believe it's just going to, that's going to be a way to understand things too. So gaslighting, yeah, I think it was very real. So before they started gaslighting, that's the focus of today. These spires, these ornate, elaborate spires are placed in the town square, in the village, in such a way that they would be perfect for illumination. Think of them as street lamps. Our street lamps are not anything exciting, are they? They're quite drab, they're quite dull, and they're quite boring. We have a lot of them, and as we get more efficient and more powerful lights, like such as with LEDs, we can put them fewer and farther between and have them be brighter. And we're screwing all of that up too. I'm not sure that I like LEDs that much. There are different kinds of LEDs, but some are better or worse than others. Depends on how you view it. But they are certainly the wrong color temperature. So that means, like, is it a warm, like a sunset, or is it a cold light? So the cold light is actually the higher temperature Kelvin. And then the warm light is like a lower temperature Kelvin. So like a warm, white, soft glow that you could actually have on in the room and still get tired and go to sleep. That's like 2700 K, like somewhere around 3000 K, 2500, 3000 Kelvin. And it's not the actual temperature of the light, but it's the color that something that temperature would produce, if that makes sense. I mean, it's analogous, and there is some actual literal correlation there. But anyway, I don't want to get into it too much. It's just, it's kind of in my wheelhouse as far as the physics stuff goes. But the higher Kelvin temperatures, those are like your daylight lamps. If you have like an aquarium, you have like a daylight lamp, and that's going to go up to, 6,000 K, maybe as high as I have some that are 8,000 K, 8,000 Kelvin. That's a very bluish white light. It's like beyond white. It's almost blue in a way, very much activating your wake cycle. Okay, so these street lamps that we have out there, anyway, long story short, we don't have them right. I see these harsh white and bluish white lights on all night long, and it screws up the animals. It really does. There are a lot of nocturnal animals. There are animals that aren't nocturnal that probably have trouble sleeping and getting good sleep with those lights on. I don't think they can have their little dens or nests or whatever under those lights, and they're everywhere. It's just light pollution. It's a big problem, if you ask me. But okay, so back then, if you look at these things, let's look at the placement of these, the spires. Now, this is what I was getting at, is if you imagine, and I hate to have to say that, but let's just look at what is there. It's not imagination. Here's a picture, actual picture of how things were. You can see there is ye olde ladder lean down there, and just to let you know, they're working on finishing it up, because they built it, and they can't reach things either because they're too small. We built it for bigger people than we were. We should have noticed how big we were before we built it, but that ship has sailed. We'll just get out the ye olde ladder and lean it whenever we need it. But if you look up here, okay, so here's the spire, and the placement of it is pretty high, but if all this stuff lit up, it would do a pretty good job of lighting up this little town square there. But it has to be dang bright. So if indeed they have what I'm about to show you, that apparently they did have, it's brighter and more powerful than the architectural lighting that we have today. And I really hope that I don't get censored on this video, because this is of scientific interest to people who are into architectural lighting, such as myself. I know that if I hadn't woken up to any of the other stuff that I've presented here, I would still be interested in that. So this should be a crossover video for the normies out there who just sit on the lap of Uncle Sam waiting for a present. Yeah, look at this, right betwixt the nethers in there. You can see there's a gas lighting. Yeah. So yeah, all these things. I mean, if you think about these towers and where they are, if they're lit up, it would really do a good job, lighting up the city, lighting up the building, lighting up the walkways. All right, so I did like the longest cliffhanger ever. Remember this when I showed you what they have here underground and in the warehouses, the old ladder lean. Yes. But going underground, these fantastic subterranean remains, ruins. Ruins can be subterranean. In fact, I would hazard a guess that some of the best subterranean ruins known to man that survive at this point are probably subterranean. But here, this picture, remember I said it has everything. So, well, we'll get to that. We'll work our way up. So here, this is reflective. It's like polished marble. And then they have this, like, I don't know if it's a rope or a rail. I think it's a rope, like a pulley, and they slide down on this like bench thing. It's so haphazard, and all the ladders. And then they have bricks, and the bricks are holding together somehow. It's just incredible. This thing is just amazing. Can you imagine walking through that, going down those ladders? Just incredible. But it's like the inside of a super giant's house. These people are, and they have the windows. You know, it's wreckage, it's ruins. But look at that chandelier dangling there. Is it not amazing, folks? And I think it was once above ground. And here, so these two obelisk things. Oh gosh, sorry. These two obelisk things. Yes. Okay, so these are inscribed, and there's a rail. All right, so they had like an electric rail, but I contend that these illuminated. These were light towers. All right, and that is something that is in almost every town, every city, above ground. And we will take a look at those. So, you know, see, they're destroying stuff. Oh, and anybody who says the mud flood didn't happen, or there's no reason to mention mud flood or any such thing, take a look at that picture and explain to me what that was about, huh? Okay. Spread this out a little bit. Okay. So here, clearly, impressions. The original material is gone. I mean, either this is one of the best, it's a best of, like maybe a masterpiece of the stone carvers on meth, or I don't know what. But if you believe it's carved out of solid rock, then you must believe in the stone carvers on meth. Oh, this thing keeps backing up, and I am about ready to just start this video over, but then whenever I do that, it's never the same. Okay, look at these things. I mean, if you just think of them as lit up, I think it makes more sense. I mean, why all the attention to detail? I think the more going on up there, the more arcs you had, because there's a type of light that it would be akin to, okay? And that would be electric arc lighting, okay? So if you think of these little anodes, cathodes, whatever, sticking out, arcing betwixt one another, that would do quite the job of illumination, wouldn't it? And look at that tower in the background. You see it? Let's zoom in. See that puppy back there? What is that about, huh? Amazing. Truly amazing stuff here. There's a good look at it. What's the business they have going on there? See, that's like a light tower, you know? And it could double. I mean, who says it has one function? Maybe it gathered electricity as well. Maybe it received signals and transmitted signals. Maybe. See back there, the towers all over. The spires. Okay? So, these fountains are something else. Now, the question has been brought up several times. Just another little aside here. Okay, so if giants lived in the buildings, there are two things, okay, 3 things, 4 things, maybe more, 5 things that I just thought, okay, to have a building for giants, you have to have structural integrity. It can't be made of weak materials. If they think of the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, copyright Marvel, you know, whatever. The hunk, we'll call him here, so we don't worry about it. The green hunk. If he's bouncing around, bopping around inside of a building, he could easily break stuff. It's like a bull in a china shop. If it's made of drywall and 2x4s and such crap. No, the Hulk would require materials like what we see in these buildings. Well, that's what we see. So we have the structural integrity. It can hold up heavy weights. You'd have to have high ceilings, high floors. That's there too. Yes. you would have to have high doorways. Of course, we see that. And on the inside, yes, we see that. And the stairs would have to be set for them. And of course, we do see that. Remember, it wasn't until the 1880s, 1860s maybe, that they said they finally figured out the stair steps, like a formula of how to do it so people don't trip and fall all the time. Because apparently, before about 1860, all the stairs were a little bit different and people were tripping and falling all the time. And some genius, architectural master mathematician figured it out and told the world. But there was a question about the bathrooms. Okay, there were no bathrooms. Well, I think there were bathrooms. The bathrooms were kind of in the town square type thing, or just outbuildings basically. And these, I believe, were kind of like hand washing stations. These huge fountains that they always seem to have. Seems like the people were more communal or community based. And sometime I'll show the bathrooms, what's left of them, because they call them bath houses sometimes. And to think, the people who are hanging out in the bath houses, they're hanging out in the shitters, We call it the bathroom to this day. But the lighting, okay. So the lamps they put in, I don't know if those are leftovers. I think they were. But they were like spot lighting, but they had general like ambient lighting as well from the towers, I believe. So with these examples, I have to get into some other material so you can start seeing these things. Yes, okay, there we start to get into it. Some of the statues, I believe, were illuminated. And there are accounts, I think it's been covered elsewhere pretty well, accounts of these luminary devices that were found, okay? And they operated by means nobody understood. In some cases, they just went into tombs. And there were lights that came on as they went in. And then the light operated for a number of, hours, days, weeks, maybe months in some cases, and then it just went out. And then there's a legend of a device, I think it was like a gem inside of a box, and it could cut stone. There's a name for it. Maybe I won't mention it because I can't remember the name. But anyway, it operated, they said, for like 400 years, and then it quit. But who knows? I'll have to look that up. That deserves its own video. So just be sure you're subscribed or resubscribed, because you may be shadow unsubscribed, but not by me. Okay, so these obelisks. This is, I believe, Paris. What's the point of these obelisks, if not for lighting? I mean, here you see columns on either side with the lights on the top. The capstones, maybe those were where they lit up. Here Subphotonic was looking at some of this stuff. You got a lot going on here. It's like somebody drew everything that they were hiding, basically. The Vimyana, these are the floating machines that could transport you right through the air. The people who are into the myths and legends of of India in particular would know about these things. They could do floating cities, according to legend there. But we see more traditional dirigibles or airships back there. And we see those poles depicted here that are very, very real and commonly found among the photographic records throughout our own research. In fact, here you see utility poles. They're mostly burnt, but probably about the same kind. You'll see more. The pyramid things seem to have something to do with power. And it's some kind of geo-electrical or geo-atmospheric or electro-atmospheric or whatever the term would be. I don't know that one has been coined, but harnessing and directing electricity and energy through geology and wind currents. Land, craft, greed. Yes, things don't really change, do they? So here are some of those towers on the upper left, or some of the transmission lines. Speaking of energy, I mentioned melted rock. And I suppose it could be argued that it's weathering. But if you really look carefully and closely at this, it's as if it was melted or cut by something. What do you think? I mean, I'm not a real materials expert, but when I look closely at some of this stuff, it makes me wonder. Makes me think there's more to it. We're on the brink. All right. What energy did this? And is it kind of the same story here? I don't know. I do know that the floor height of the buildings destroyed exceeds the floor height of the buildings built to replace the buildings destroyed by what? Fire? Those flammable bricks, those flammable stones. Drop a match and everybody groans because the building's going to burn down. That building, look at that. There's an electric streetcar. This picture has a lot because look. Okay. Huh. Look at these little shrimp pipsqueaks walking around there. Heck are they doing? And you got light poles. You got a big fence there. Off limits. What's going on with the roof? Oh, they're just finishing up building it. Yeah. People riding the electric streetcar. What the heck's behind that? Is that a cyber truck back there? The mud sweepers, they're all in their stifling uniforms. Did they not have summer heat back then? Those utility poles are monsters, man. Look how tall they are. Why'd they have to be that tall? Look at that. Amazing. Simply amazing. What is this? Is that a clock? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon there. What time is that? Fascinating. Fascinating indeed. Oh, one more thing. Just the bulbous nature of those sticky-uppy spire things. The geometry. There's something to it. They carved it out that way, lady. Is that what your tour guide's telling you? Haha. You got to have UAP with you on a tour. It will be a hoot. So here they're lighting this thing up kind of half-acidly. That's a verb. Or an, well, adverb, I guess. Oh, this artwork. You know, I didn't study this. I really want to. I'm sure there are all kinds of gems in here. Because I love these really old pictures of these rooms chock full of art. Especially when it's way up high like this. Because who's looking in and seeing this art? You know, they're getting out ye olde ladder to climb up there. You can see it's kind of old, but it's been preserved. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Kind of looks a little bit amateurish, though. Like it may have been painted over in a way. It's hard to tell, but it's still worth a good deal of study. Boy, that woman looks big compared to that dude, especially the little child dude to the bottom left, which may be a child, but still. Is that a horse? Yeah, look at the horse. Look at her size compared to the horse in that picture. See, that's what I'm talking about. Heck, that might even be a unicorn. And because they're so adamant about getting the point across that unicorns are fantasy and dinosaurs are real, I'm going to say that dinosaurs are fantasy and unicorns are real. So that's how it works. Here's the fence. They hide this stuff they're doing. Those fences are so common. Tear down those fences. We want to know what's going on. See that? Look at the roofs. Yeah. This is what the founders encountered. Them utility poles had to go. They didn't want that. Don't go sailing on the Atlantic. The oldie ladderly. Can you imagine being the one first dude with the oldie ladder, and you lean up there and you climb up and you get to go inside of that and see what in the heck is in there? Oh man, fascinating. I want to do it. Well, we may get a chance, but it's probably going to be underground. The days are gone when you could just walk around and check that stuff out, you know what I mean? Alright, so we want the architectural lighting here. Oh yes. Oh yes. We're getting into it now. We're getting closer. So they have a dirigible. I showed this to you. Yeah. This is how that stuff worked. Somehow they hang these metal plates. Had something to do with maybe a column. Excuse me. A column or an obelisk. They have some kind of like a spinning mirror. I don't know. And they're just swinging their lightsabers around. And they're lighting up the night. And they were the giants too, by the way. Oh, and look at this thing going up here. Just a second. Look at that. The form of it. It kind of looks like those utility poles almost. Look at these little dudes. I never noticed them before. Hiding back there. These little spectators on the fence. Behind the fence. Because if you look, you can't really see them there. Those are top hats. And those are the spectators. They're the little guys. And the giants are putting on the show. This is their show. This is their deal. It makes me wonder in some ways, maybe the giants left voluntarily. I mean, maybe it wasn't a big fight. Maybe it was, well, it could have been a rapture, or it could have been something like physical, like an epidemic, but I doubt that, because there aren't the bones or anything. Maybe they went subterranean because perhaps a pressure drop, and they can't survive in this low pressure atmosphere. They're too big. They need the higher pressure to keep themselves together, literally. Keep yourself together, you know. Whenever something goes along with a phrase, it gets a point for truth, you know, like likelihood. Keep yourself together, you know, down to earth. Maybe they had to go down. Maybe they're under you right now. I don't know. So, I want to find this other picture, though, before I play that. We'll go back to that. Okay, so now we're getting into it. So there are all kinds of these depictions where you have the pyramidal structures, you have these really high lampposts, and then you have the buildings themselves giving off light on the outside. All right, and then you have this actual photograph during the daytime, but you have these energy towers, or, you know, those aren't holding insulators carrying telegraph wires. No. These things were designed for light production. Représentation des feux d'artifice et d'illumination. They were drawn, giving off light. And it's not just like the candelabras. Okay. It's worth mentioning that candles, they are used now with reference to things that aren't actually candles. So maybe back then they were using the language the same as we do today, and it wasn't actually referring to candles. So capacitors, balls made of tin or some kind of metal special filling. They had steel sharp elements attached to the top in the form of a flower. Steel, I don't know. They began to conduct electricity and glow with bright light. So these fountains get decimated these days. So like before and after type stuff. But they lit up before. Beautiful statues. Just beautiful stuff. Now look in the background. I want you to see this. Look at this. I want to point this out. See that stuff right there? See that? Is that a cal fire? Is Cal Fire crashing their party? Ken from Cal Fire's bringing the Keystone firefighters to fumble around and burn down everything you hold dear? Or what? Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so here we go. We're getting into the nut of the matter right here. It's shown to you. The obelisks, this is what they did. This is what they were for. Oh, look, they have like, what do they call those? Oh, that's a dude. I was thinking of those girls that swing around on the fabric, you know? Is that a dude too? Yeah, he's got to go trim the wicks on the candles they have up there. Yeah, right. Look at all the lights. And in the background, all the lights they have. If these are all candles, are these guys going to be sitting up there playing music or whatever the heck it is they're doing? No, they might be statues. I sure hope that's a statue. Anyway, got a bunch of lights in the background too. They had lights raining down from ballons. Look at that, and it's even making like a pattern thing. Isn't that cool? North. We gotta go north and get the heck out of here. These pipsqueaks are coming in and terrorizing our butts. But look, the whole thing's lit up, big columns and stuff. But this is after the takeover, you know. I'm surprised they knew how to run this stuff. Look at that. Look at all the people, too. My gosh. Where are they coming from? Is this the grand entry? Are they coming out of the tunnels or something? They all seem to have their uniforms on. These are the control. Is this like the grand controller party? Oh, the world is ours to control. And we're gonna have some good times for a few hundred years or whatever. But yeah. Inside, is this inside or outside? Sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, the architecture is so beautiful, and then they have these interior spaces. It's not that much different from the exterior. But here, there are these obelisk things. They're obviously lighting things up. That's what they did. Lighting up the night. Lighting up the sky. Beautiful, huh? Isn't it magnificent? I went down, I was in Gatlinburg years ago, and around Christmas time, and they have a lot of neat lights up. Millions, like 8, 10, 12, probably many more, 20 million lights maybe. I remember seeing they have this Opry house, like it's called the Music Mansion, or it was at the time, and they had every corner, every edge lined with white, small white lights, and it just looked glorious. It was like something out of Tron. Like living in the movie Tron. I was looking for that glowing blue water to drink, you know. Because it's like Coca-Cola, like the old Coca-Cola is what it was like. Like made you feel really good. And you know why? Man, I have energy. I feel like I take on the world. So, yeah, fireplaces, they'll have these metal plates. Very interesting. Just the ornate, amazing details and everything. But this is no ordinary wood-burning fireplace as you and I would have thought of it before. It's a cold air return, I think. And there are those hanging plates that kind of light up. So we have pictures you'll see of these old knights, you know, like knights in shining armor with their helmets glowing. And this is from, I think that it might be from that magazine Puck, but I don't know. But it's something like that. It's satirical. And they're making fun of these people trying to sell the idea. I think they're trying to sell the idea of everything was done with candles. Well, how could they have worn those glowing helmet hats and things that glowed that you see in these pictures that I haven't shown you yet, but they're there. You'll see it. What did they do? Wear candles on their heads? That's the joke of it. Well, that's what these guys, that's the tale that they spun for you. Here they are lounging around with their plunder. Yeah. Look how we light things up today. Yeah. Look at that. How we light it up. It's a joke. That rocket burns up. It's crazy. Rockets. So in the World's Fairs, They kind of approximated it, but I don't think it was exactly the same. But they did some. This is like a transition thing, you know. The thing about the World's Fair is it blew everyone's mind, you know, like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. But it was way stepped down from what formerly was. They had to rewrite the memory, the collective memory of the things that were there, the electric architecture that was there that actually worked. It was still in the collective conscience. They had to replace it with an analog, something far inferior, something twisted of the devil, a devilish lie. It is a restatement, an inadequate restatement of the truth. Just like when God spoke to Adam and Eve in the garden, what did the devil do? He didn't physically force Eve or Adam to do anything that God told them not to do. He restated the truth in a twisted and insufficient and inadequate and misleading way. So, for all the questioning I do, I don't want to question the truth that's handed down to us, what's left of the collective memory. I honor that, such as this painting where you can see there's one of these things and it's lit up. It's doing its job right there. You know? So now, the halos in these drawings, perhaps the halos were actual physical devices, illumination elements that were part of the wardrobe. We think it's just some thing that is saying, well, this is meaning that this person is holy. But where is the practical application? See, these artistic works were meant to convey the reality, right? So the reality of experience, that's how the artwork can speak to you. So what would you think of it, you know? And you can see in some cases how it has some different form to it. You know, people come from a far off land or something and they just have a different, it's like having a different collar, you know. And the prevalence of giants, the giants have the architecture, sometimes they have wings, so it suggests that they're angelic. But certainly these things were around. They were quite often depicted in cultures all over the earth. All over the earth. So when I was showing you the candles on the heads, you know, that was kind of like the sardonic satire of what the controllers were doing to us. Just giving us this ridiculous thing, making fools of us for believing them. I've been burned so bad having believed the narrative, you know, and I'm not talking about like what my elders spoke to me in person. I honor that. You know, if they're fooled about something, I don't hold that against them whatsoever. But I'm talking about the ones who originated the prevarications. So the lies, the ones who made up the lies in the first place. Because it seems like this is not an artistic thing. Here, I mean, they have she's holding a picture of a guy with the same thing around his head, and she has it around hers. So, and this guy's adjusting the brightness on his, you know. Maybe they had like a night mode and they turned the color temperature down so they could kind of get ready for sleep or whatever. If they slept, I mean, they're so advanced in some ways, maybe they dispensed with sleep and they found ways to get around it. Oh my, what is going on there? Is that like that rock rain stuff happening? Yeah. Fascinating. This deserves a clue. I didn't look at this. Wer ist this fastlich nam auf der Nachperf schmeckt mit der Brühe. It's like a nursery rhyme or something. Yeah. Oh, something about a cloud. Look at that. Maybe that's supposed to be rain, but that looks pretty harsh. Porcupine, there's that sun. The sun that the Jesuits draw. Bear with me. just looking at this stuff. All right, so here we have this. Look at that. Lighten it up. Light up the night, man. Now, this picture fascinated me. I came across this among very old photographs. Very old. If I remember right, it said like circa 1900. Yeah, circa 1900. So is this a photograph from a dirigible? Well, it's kind of a drawing, but it's kind of not. It has these little marker things on it. It's kind of like it's a bombing run, or who knows. And then these bands of, it's like plasma activity happening there. The city layout is exactly like what I would expect to see of the old world from above. It's exactly what I would expect to see. Look how the buildings are lit up, where the entire domes or obelisks and things are illuminated. And then there are these like spots of light going down or up, or maybe those are on the ground. I don't know. But it's extremely fascinating. And there's just one of these no context photos, and it was just in a collection like of old photos or something. And it came up under illumination, and it was like pre-1900 is where I found it when I did a search of just any photo, you know, and sometimes they just say unknown, that type of business. There you see the dome and everything. All right, so this photo, yes. Take a good look at this. See, coming up, is that all smoke? Are they burning torches? Is that how they lit things? Is that smoke? Nay, I say nay. And I'm not a horse. I'm not trying to sound like one. I am telling you that I don't think so. What are they doing? His shield is lit up. The corners of their shields are lit. There seems to be chaos. They're running around. What are they holding up? It's like a taser gun, slingshot, I don't know. But all these guys with their metal armor or whatever, like the corners of their shields, and the horses are freaking out because they are under some kind of microwave energy attack. They've assembled to fight whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just a show. Are they just putting on a show? It seems to be, because there's a lot of people watching. These people are huge, by the way. The horses must be as well. I don't know. I mean, they are kind of big for the horses. Yeah. I mean, these people are like 7 feet, maybe 8 feet tall. So. All right. So, but mainly I want you to focus on that. Okay. So mark that in your memory. I think there are a few other things kind of like it. That's just a piece of artwork. All right. There's examples of large and small people. There's your gaslighting. All right, so let's look at this. All right, got it in your mind. And then if you don't like scrolling, close your eyes right now. Close them. You can open them now. And I'm going to play for you this little thing. Now, do you think that the person who saw that stuff right here, I think it's about the same thing? Is that about what it would look like at night? Perhaps. I think so. Did they have smaller sheep or bigger people? And then again, she has the crown and it's lit up. They knew how to get lit. She's holding something like the holy hand grenade, but it is not. What device was that? The holy hand grenade? I don't know. Yeah, this whole thing, it doesn't really make sense unless, well, I'll interpret it for you in another video. There's a lot going on in this picture, and it's not really that great. Somewhat upsetting, I guess. But Yeah. So there's more stuff showing the electric light architecture and the halos. They had their halos on. Yeah, you got all kinds of stuff going on here, you know, like Mudflood and ruins and all the architecture and stuff, but you see it's kind of lit, glowing over there. The giants, they seem to be peaceful, scholarly, artistic people. Really great people. Is what they seem to be. So they must, the giants that I'm talking about now, they must not have been the Nephilim. The Nephilim, I think, were like the titans that terrorized even the giants. But the giant people, those are like us, you know, the better versions of us. Our better angels, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But you can see these depictions of the lighting going way back. Yes, check that out. I mean, this is an old photograph, man. I'm telling you. That is old. What is that down there? Let's zoom in. I mean, this I love it, because there's not only is there not a niller sky, but there's some interesting business going on in the sky. And then they have still waters, and it reflects. It reflects it. Let me see if I can flip this over. I have to zoom out first. All right, now let's zoom in on it. So what did it really look like here? Wow. I mean, that stuff's lit up, but was that the moon? Wow. I mean, what did the moon look like back then? It couldn't have been the sun. That had to be the moon. Did the moon look that different? Is this why we have no, like practically no depictions of the moon before 1820? Well, there's some drawings, yeah. There are depictions of the moon before 1820. I don't know. But you go back, like, let's say from biblical times, nobody drew the moon. Like, you don't see that, do you? How was the moon depicted? Boy, this is a question just like, what did they think of the Atlantic before Columbus? You know, and then you look and it's all kinds of crazy. I bet you that's what I'm going to run into when I do that. Oh, there's so much stuff to get into. It's so neat. I love it. Are you having fun? Because I am. I'm having fun. I hope you are too. Okay, let's get right side up. Yeah, but that stuff's lit up. There's so much stuff lit up. It's amazing. I mean, can you imagine how majestic looking that would be? Well, you don't have to. It's right there in black and white and sepia. It's pictured for you to enjoy. Oh, the plunders. Because of the plunders, we wonders. Yeah, a lot of these temples and things, they had that stuff going on. There's your hand wash station, if you ask me. They're digging it out. And it always had balustrades around it. Why? Well, they must have had some big, heavy mechanical vehicles. Or is it to keep horses from drinking out of it? Drinking out of turn or something? I don't know. Sometimes I go quiet because I'm thinking, and I hope you understand that and don't mind. Because I don't mind that you're quiet. I can't hear you guys at all right now. But I know that in the future you are reacting. Yeah, these obelisks. Yeah. Well, we already saw that one. Oops. Where did I jump? Okay, if you don't like scrolling, close your eyes. Because this thing likes to jump on me. I like the convenience of it. But sometimes it's kind of a pain. Oh yeah, I do want to go back to this. Okay. So this is the one that was glowing a lot. So what is So they have like a kind of a white outline. And that's definitely like a metallic onion dome with the ball thing on the top. So that's how it's powered. I don't see any power lines running in there, folks, do you? I don't see any utility poles even. Because it's pulling the power straight out. It's direct. And it does have the 2 towers. Towers to the domes. It's got the domes, got the 2 towers. Yeah. And if I look at that one that's lit up, they may have a way of like turning, like they didn't turn on the other ones, but these are totally switched on. I mean, look at how much that glows. It's fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So where were we? Yeah, this obelisk. Okay, that's where we were. Oh man, yeah. They're walking into this. Look at those balustrades. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm still not really confidently using. Is that? I think that's what I was told. Balustrades. You have columns, dilapidated, huge tall doorways, overgrowth, like trees growing out of the sides of the building. Ooh, this is what it actually says. Okay, Latin. I had always wondered my whole life why on these, when I would go to a museum or a place like that, and I look up there and it's like, why did these guys in whatever, the 1700s, 1800s, whenever it was built, being a United States kid, I'd look up and I'd see it. They wrote all this stuff in these university halls and stuff. They would do it in Latin. It's like, do we do it today? Not really. Not really. What does it say? I don't speak Latino. No, it's not Latino. I know that. Hey, there's a year. What does that say? It looks like MD. So it'd be 15. 15. Probably a V after that. 97. 1597. MD or L. Yeah, L is 50. MDL. So that would be 1550 plus 37. So 1587. Yeah, because if it was 90, they wouldn't bother with the L and they would just do a C. It'd be like XC or whatever. So, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Again, it's a drawing, so you got to take it with a grain of crayon or granite or chalk or whatever. But yeah, the building sizes, the wreckage of it, the roofs, there's little bits of overgrowth in the tops. There's an obelisk on the top, on the corners of that. Big doorways, small doorways. They're the big stairs because they hadn't gotten rid of the big stairs yet. Ooh, look at in there, all the way in there. Are those big books on a bookshelf? Oh, that would be fascinating. It'd be worth so much too. Now, this could be the year 1587 from creation, Or maybe having the number up there wasn't even meaning the year. Maybe. I don't know if it says anno or... I didn't see. I guess it would have been year, huh? You got the lion things. You know what that means. But look at the size of those balustrades. There's kind of things on top of it. But yeah, those huge stair steps. Oh, there are probably things in the interiors of those buildings would be so fascinating. Look, are those clouds or is that smoke? What's going on in the sky? There's always some business going on there. Probably just clouds. Look at the street, goes way back. What are those, pyramids, teepees? You got your mud flow. Just so fascinating. Is that a leftover? Sometimes they depict these things going through these photos, or like watching Martin Liedtke's stuff, and comes upon it, and there's like the giants there hanging out. Like, hey guys, take care of it. You know, he's done. You know, he's tired or whatever. So yeah, it's not there. You know, it's not there in this one, but it's there in other ones. They had to build their little secondary steps. Man, is it huge though? My gosh. Clearly, it's not built for these people. You'd have to be pretty dang strong just to open these doors. And they had lowered the threshold. Oh, wow. Those are the lowered thresholds. My goodness. Incredible. And look, they have their little wall fence thing that they had to keep people out. It's like the giants had giants. Everything's all mud flooded out there. Look at the... Either that's big stuff that's really far... That's probably it. I mean, that's probably really big stuff. It's just really far away. And the trees are starting to grow back after the event. I mean, look at what the event did to all that stuff. That is the mud flood, folks. And it came from the top down. It came from the sky. Because it wipes out the roofs, the rooftops, the roofs. What's that say? Something to salvation. English. What's this? I hate it when I can almost read something, but I can't quite make it out. These people come in with their horses. Claim they built that. Get off of it. You didn't build Scott. I built it just as much as you did. Stop it. Stop it. Get out of here. Built that stuff. Did not. This utility pole is otherworldly. It is otherworldly. And had a little thing for people to climb up it. What is it? What is it made of? Is that wood? Is it really wood? I don't think so. National Couard. National Couard. Num-nums. They just wreck stuff. Orders. Follow the orders. Destroy priceless, irreplaceable architecture. So that generations of your children can struggle and slave and toil to build it up again. Obelisk. What is in this wreckage? It looks like a car. I don't know. Fountain's still running. Amazing. This is that same building just from like further back, huh? I find it incredible, do you not? Oh yeah, here come your great-great-grandparents, or your great-grandparents, or I don't know, great-great-great-grandparents perhaps. They don't know nothing. They don't have nothing. That's why in your family history, you go back through artifacts, letters, telegram slips, very important, you know, last words or I love yous or whatever from some really important person. Not there. Yeah. All kinds of stuff went on. All kinds of weird stuff. Get ready. Nothing new under the sun. What is going to happen? The Pied Piper, Wall of Fire. Yeah. We just don't know, do we, huh? But we'll find out. Oh, yes, we will find out. Somebody got something working. Conditions are right. Conditions are perfect. Is it the northern lights? Or is it the atmospheric electricity? Yes, I do find it. I find it very interesting. Okay, so this little depiction of the center of the Earth, it almost looked like a photograph. So this is like the map or the top of the globe or whatever, right? But then there was this. Like, look at that. I mean, it looks kind of like a picture of a model, but I mean, what would something like that look like from very high up and far away? Is this the North Pole? I don't see a mountain in the center. Is this a model of the Earth, the realm in which we live from really far away? It could just be something straight from a sci-fi movie. It certainly caught my attention. Yes, indeed. Anyway. Stuff for other videos. Bricks out the wazoo. Alright, well, thank you for watching.